This is the elf's capital city, Vitality Citadel Kayak. The just rescued elf girl and others were sent here, responsible for cleaning the city, as the elven race does not support idleness. The girl, seeing no other choice, had to agree. She looked at everything before her, feeling both familiar and strange. "I'm finally back," she thought. Just then, a carriage passed by her. The girl looked back at the carriage going away into the distance, as if pondering something. A foot stretched out from the carriage as it came down. It is indeed Vast Sky and Azure Sky. Vast Sky looked around and said, "Sure enough, there are elves everywhere around here." Fortunately, they made disguises in advance. Now they can blend in perfectly. At this time, a nobleman passed by behind Vast Sky and said as he walked, "How much mineral did those lowly races dig out today?" The servant behind him immediately replied, "Sir, it's the same as usual." Vast Sky looked at this scene helplessly and said, "Although I have no prejudice against the nobility, but such a large wealth gap is a bit too much." He said that the state of this life tree is so good, could it be related to the main god of the elves? Azure Sky nearby seemed to come alive as soon as it was mentioned. She raised her fist and said, "Then I will burn down the world tree right now and bring out the so-called elf main god." This would be troublesome for Vast Sky. He aimed a blow straight at Azure Sky's forehead. "Wait a moment, I just want to have a talk with him. Why are you always thinking about fighting and killing?" Azure Sky replied while holding his head, "But that guy, Last Era, is a heaven defier. There's really nothing to talk about." Vast Sky then rewarded Azure Sky with a brain explosion in excitement. He said, "Then we definitely need to talk more. I must understand Heaven Defier's true intentions. Friends should bring in more people and reduce the number of enemies, gathering all possible united forces. Do you understand?" Azure Sky, holding his head, heard the response and said, "My lord is wise." But at that moment, urgent voices could be heard from behind, shouting, make way, don't block the road. Lower class people in front, move aside quickly for me. You all need to pay more attention. If I accidentally hit someone, I won't take responsibility for it." The arrogant and lawless young lady turns out to be Princess Tirana of the Elves. Vast Sky immediately fell silent upon hearing this, and turned to look. Earth Dragon came straight toward Vast Sky and charged at him. At the moment when Earth Dragon collided with Vast Sky, a magical scene occurred. Earth Dragon actually passed through Vast Sky's body and left gracefully. Vast Sky angrily said, "Is this how the local nobility teaches their children? It looks like we need to take care of elves matters properly. It's just that I have a good temper. If it were someone else, they would definitely pull her directly from the car and throw her into the black orc pile in the Vast Sky." He was still wondering what would happen next. A flowing golden hair, like a cloud, drifted past Vast Sky. Elf Princess Tirana sped down the road, but at that moment, an elderly person was slowly walking in the middle of the road. Just as it was about to collide, a figure emitting magical energy appeared. Quickly rushing from the side, he grabbed the old lady and saved her from falling. After the crisis was averted, the elf girl immediately asked, "Are you okay, old lady?" Then she thought to herself, "Why has the elven race turned into what it is today?" The old man suddenly felt extremely grateful and said, "Thank you so much. May Mother God bless you, young lady." Just as he finished saying that, Vast Sky walked forward, clapping his hands and praising, "Well done. It's truly rare to find kindness within the distinct elven race like you." The elf girl, feeling displeased, turned her head and asked, "May I ask who you are, sir?" Vast Sky assumed a relaxed and indifferent posture and replied, "I'm just a passerby who loves to meddle in other people's affairs." He then asked the old man, saying, "Are the princesses of the elven race always so presumptuous and unreasonable?" The old man helplessly said, "Not only the elven princesses, but all elven nobles are like this. It's the nature of the people of the elven race since birth. It is destined that their own fate, golden elves and moon elves are the rulers. Sea elves and forest elves are artisans. But gray elves and dark elves, like us, can only serve as servants. The elf girl on the side interrupted anxiously and said, "No, that's not true. The people of the elven race have never determined their own identity based on their background. Why do you think like that?" The old man's words are hard to express. It's because of lifespan. Like our gray elves, we only have a brief lifespan of 1,000 years. Unlike golden elves who can live for over 5,000 years. The gods have already written our respective destinies, and we can only obey. After listening to the conversation between vast sky and elven race, I realized that the elven race was originally known for their longevity. The system adds that it is indeed true. But the price for longevity is low fertility, which is also a rule of the Heavenly Dao. The stronger one's power is, the lower the probability of giving birth to offspring. At this moment, Vast Sky frowned and pondered about the lifelong matter. He said, "So does this mean that I cannot have children?" Just as he finished speaking, Vast Sky felt a chill down his back as Azure Sky gazed at him affectionately. She said, "Has my lord finally decided to have children? Azure Sky is fully capable of it. How many children does my lord want?" Azure Sky's words instantly caught Vast Sky off guard. She held onto her head and prevented her from approaching, seizing the moment while Vast Sky and Azure Sky were still fooling around. The old man thanked again, turned around, and left. Returning to the topic, Vast Sky stepped forward and said, "The current elven race is significantly different from when you were in power, isn't it?" "I'm right, aren't I? Luludyeth, or should I say the mother god of the elven race in the past?" Luludyeth's face darkened as she slowly turned her head. She exuded a powerful aura. The ground all around even sank down, her aura fully open, with magic soaring to the sky. "Are you, as a heaven defier, not even familiar with the Heavenly Dao?" Vast Sky smiled slightly. Upon hearing it, Luludyeth immediately vetoed, exclaiming in disbelief, "This is impossible! I have seen the Heavenly Dao, and you are completely different from him." Vast Sky carefully considered and realized that this way wouldn't work either. At the sound of a crisp noise, a protective shield instantly appeared on the ground. The protective shield trapped everyone inside. Luludyeth saw that things were going badly. Even my powers were locked away. Just as Luludyeth was dazed, Vast Sky grabbed Luludyeth's chin. He said slowly, "Now you must believe, Luludyeth." Luludyeth regained consciousness at a lightning speed, unable to see when he came over. "No way. I have to act first to be strong." She slapped Vast Sky's hand. She fiercely punched towards Vast Sky with her left fist. At this moment, there was a swift sound. A leg was swung from the side to interrupt Luludyeth's attack. Azure Sky said coldly, "Despicable heaven defier dared to be unreasonable to our lord, simply seeking death." Luludyeth quickly stepped back. She thought to herself, "My soul has just been revived, and my current strength is only at 5th rank pinnacle. I have to find a way to escape." She then used spatial teleportation and disappeared from the spot. Vast Sky took a look and nodded slightly in approval, saying, "It's actually a 5th rank elf archmage. It's not common in the human realm, but it's a pity. What you encountered is Heavenly Dao." With a loud bang in the sky accompanied by a scream, it turned out that Luludyeth hit the protective shield. The next second, she fell straight down. She even left a large hole in the ground where she fell. Luludyeth, who fell to the ground heavily injured, thought to himself, "How is this possible? I actually can't teleport out." Before Luludyeth could react, a hand suddenly grabbed his head and forcefully pushed it down. The left hand that had just launched an attack was also snapped off with a click sound. Azure Sky sat on top of Luludyeth and lifted him up with one grab. Her eyes are glowing with a blue light. Vast Sky couldn't help but shout to stop Azure Sky when he saw this situation. Helpless Azure Sky had no choice but to obediently comply. Vast Sky stepped forward and spoke. "Now you must believe that I am the Heavenly Dao, right?" He patted Lilith's injured right shoulder again and said, "Don't be so nervous, I just want to ask you a few questions." Don't be so scared. Lilith had no choice but to cooperate with Vast Sky. At this time, Vast Sky also raised the first question: what is Heaven Defire's plan? Lilith covered his injured arm, furrowed his brow, and said, "I don't know. Although I am indeed the Heaven Defier of the last era. But I don't know if there is a heaven-defying plan in the third era. Even if there is, they wouldn't tell me." Azure Sky immediately rushed towards her angrily. She grabbed Lilith's head and took a big bite. Vast Sky was speechless and grabbed Azure Sky, saying that the primary god of the elves is within the Heaven Defier. It can only be considered as average strength. It is normal not to know the specific plan. He then turned to Lilith and asked, "The next question, why do you hate the Heavenly Dao?" Lilith sneered coldly when he heard this, saying, "I am from the late period of the first era. Gods born in the company of Life Tree. At that time, I and Life Tree together guarded the birth and growth of the elven race. That prosperity and happiness left a vivid memory for me. But it was at the end of the first era that I witnessed the catastrophic disaster with my own eyes. Life Tree directly returns to the seed stage. And I was barely clinging to life, with only a breath left. Now you actually ask me why I hate Heavenly Dao. Does it make any sense?" Vast Sky frowned and asked again, "One last question." Lilith, who was thinking hard, asked, "What do you think is the most important thing in your heart?" She replied slowly, "I just want to be able to protect my people forever." Vast Sky smiled and said, "Can you really do it? Actions speak louder than words. I'll take you to see the truth with your own eyes." The scene changes, and a few people have already arrived at the mining zone of Elven Forest. Vast Sky and others teleported over. The depths of the cave echoed with cries of misery, only to see a thick and long whip fiercely lashing on the back of an elf girl, instantly causing flesh and blood to blur. Standing behind her is a ruthless and merciless person. The man roared, "Hurry up, you lowly people! Don't delay the delivery time, or you'll all be dead meat. Move faster! Stop dilly-dallying!" he said, as he gestured aggressively. Lilith witnessed this scene, his face filled with anger. How could they treat their own people like this? She was about to rush forward, but was stopped by Vast Sky. He said, "I can only try to stop human trafficking as well. Simply enslaving them won't be able to provoke Lilith, the dark figure." Upon hearing this, he was shocked and thought to himself, "So those dark figures are his doing. When did this guy become so kind-hearted?" She replied, blaming him once again. "If you want to save the slaves, why not save them all together?" Vast Sky explained disapprovingly, "You might have misunderstood something. The source of slaves is not simply human trafficking. Prisoners of war and criminals are also considered slaves. Do I have to save them too? I just can't stand human trafficking. But killing, oppression, and tyranny are decisions made within your own race." He then pinched Lilith's cheeks. He slowly walked up behind her and said, "Don't just dump all your responsibilities on me, Goddess Elf." Lilith asked helplessly again, "I still don't understand. You have the power to change everything. Why don't you go and save more people?" With a strong grip, Vast Sky pinched it. He leaned in close to Lilith's ear and said, "Think carefully about what you are doing while the Heavenly Dao is attempting to change everything. Why has the earthly realm turned into a barren land? Why is the celestial realm the world with the most resources? Why has the cycle of reincarnation been damaged? Just like your subjects, the nobles in the upper echelons have started to oppress their own kind in the lower levels in order to lead better lives." This direct statement strikes at the soul of Lilith. Bewildered, she exclaimed, "It's not like this. It's all because you want to plunder the power of all living beings and become stronger. In order not to be killed by you, we must resist." Vast Sky is as gentle as the wind brushing past the ear. Softly he replied, "Am I searching for the power of all beings? The power of the Heavenly Dao originates from all beings. as long as all beings die. The power of the Heavenly Dao will also weaken as a result. Tell me, why would the Heavenly Dao prefer to destroy all beings and eliminate those strong individuals? Liludyath held his head, as if lost in despair. Following that, Vast Sky asked, "You may not know about other things, but you should at least recognize this one." Liludyath was shocked to see the object in Vast Sky's hand. It turned out to be... Vast Sky slowly brought forth a skeleton, Liludyath, wearing a shocked expression, his face turning pale, and his heart feeling like it was being twisted by a knife. "You must have realized by now, this is you who just awakened in the second era. But back then, you actually completely depleted a spiritual spring and selfishly wanted to revive the life tree and yourself. You should know that it is the most important source of life that can restore the mainland. Because of your actions, how many lives that should have been born have disappeared. You are also clear in your heart how many sources of life there are in your own small realm." His words hit Liludyath's soul directly. She couldn't help but kneel down. But she said hatefully towards Vast Sky, "I know it all. But I just want to survive. What's wrong with wanting to survive? If it weren't for you destroying all living beings, why would I need the source of life to revive me?" Vast Sky coldly chuckled and replied, "If it weren't for you all recklessly plundering the opportunities granted to all living beings by the Heavenly Dao. As the Heavenly Dao, how could I choose to destroy you? Some people, driven by greed and selfish desires, oppress others. Just like the problem you are facing now, just as it was back then, how can you answer to the fallen elven race that has become so corrupted?" As Liludyath was lost in thought, an urgent roar came from outside. "Something big has happened. The Dark Elf rebels have broken in." As soon as the words were spoken, a sharp longsword pierced the throat of the intruder instantly. A figure clad in a handsome cloak with a creepy black widow embroidered on it slowly spoke. "I am Shadow, leader of the Dark Elf Resistance Army." He shouted courageously to his compatriots. "I have come to rescue you. Pick up your weapons quickly. It is time to unleash the anger that has been pent up in your chests for years." The enslaved Dark Elves looked at the scattered weapons on the ground, their eyes turning red with deep hatred. Gritting their teeth, they turned their heads to the elves who enslaved them. "Kill you beasts who deserve to go to hell!" Blood splattered and flowed like a river. Liludyath looked on in anguish at the scene unfolding before their eyes. She knelt on the ground. "No, it shouldn't be like this. I have to stop all of this." Vast Sky looked at Liludyath, who was kneeling on the ground, in tears, and said, "What difference would it make if you stop this? The key is to address the fundamental issues in order to prevent similar incidents from occurring in places you cannot see." The stubborn Liludyath once again angrily accused Vast Sky, saying, "It's all because of you." As she spoke, a staff slowly appeared in her hand. "If my power is still present, all of this wouldn't have happened in the next second." Azure Sky angrily shouted, "Bold Heaven Defier, haven't you learned your lesson?" As she was about to rush forward and beat up Liludyath. But she was grabbed and pulled back by Vast Sky. He then said to Liludyath, "So you still haven't understood until now. In the second era, the elven race already had distinctions of high and low status. At that time, a golden elf resembling you was already considered a noble. Dark elves have always been marginalized. They have never been regarded as part of the same race by others, but instead treated as outsiders. Heavenly Dao chose to eliminate the evildoers because it saw the suffering of all beings. As the mother god of the elven race, you never want to lower your head to look at your own people. What are you doing when they are in dire need of you in the midst of great difficulties and danger?" Liludyath listens to the words of Vast Sky, tears silently streaming down from the corners of their eyes. Her weapon also disappears from her hand. She bows her head to face all that she has done, trembles inside, and says, "I am not a qualified mother." Vast Sky comforted helplessly, saying, "Don't cry. Crying won't solve the problem. When faced with an issue, you need to think of ways to solve it. Not only does the Heavenly Dao work this way, but you should also." Upon hearing this, Liludyath replied weakly, But I'm really too weak at the moment. I have no strength at all. At this moment, a powerful hand landed on Lilith's shoulder and said, Does being weak mean you won't resist? Where is your courage that defies the heavens? You can take out half of it, and it's enough to change the entire elven race. The silent Lilith gradually revived and said slowly, I think I know what to do. As Lilith's spirit rekindled, Vast Sky smiled faintly and said, Very well. So what are you going to do next? Lilith looked back at the elves with the scars. She lowered her head and said, I want to go to the stronghold of the Dark Elf Resistance Army first to understand what their demands are. Vast Sky expressed approval. Not bad. You've already started to listen to the voices of the people. As a reward for your wit, I'll help you out by giving you a ride. He then snapped his fingers, and a teleportation array appeared out of thin air. Vast Sky and Azure Sky slowly approached. At this moment, Azure Sky asked again puzzledly, My lord, why are you helping this unreasonable heaven defier? Vast Sky, with his hands in his pockets, explained as he walked. Having one more friend is always better than having one more enemy, Lilith. At this moment, he couldn't help but feel a sense of irony. I can now somehow understand the actions of the Heavenly Dao. She hurriedly caught up with him. We have reached the stronghold of the Elf Resistance Army. Suddenly, a halo appeared at the entrance. Vast Sky and the others walked out from it. At a glance, they saw the Black Widow lurking above the cave. Lilith thought for a moment. With a spider present, it seems there is an old acquaintance here. Vast Sky looked around and said to Lilith slowly, I have removed the traces of hiding you. They can see you now. Lilith walked towards the inside after hearing that. Just as he stepped into the doorway, the spider on the ceiling let out a roar, prompting the dark elf inside the cave to react immediately by pulling out a bow and shooting towards Lilith. In the darkness, the shadows of arrows appeared one after another. Vast Sky took a look and said with a slight hint of concern, You, mother god of the elven race, won't be taken down by your own people, right, Lilith? Lilith's eyes gradually sharpened as he replied, Although I haven't fully recovered yet, I'm not so weak as to be taken down so easily. She raised her hand and instantly created a barrier that blocked all attacks. The dark elf across from her exclaimed in horror, It's the arrow-deflecting array, a skill that only 5th-rank mages can use. Suddenly, a figure rushed out from the middle, disregarding her background, declaring, As long as you are a golden elf, you must die. Lilith calmly raised her hands and performed the blessing of the forest gesture with ease. Many branches suddenly burst out around her, binding the dark elf, who was rushing towards her in the air. At this moment, a ghostly aura filled the air. She has arrived. Indeed, you are the god of the dark elf, Rianth. On the side, Vast Sky opened celestial eye to scan the way. This is the shadow of the elven race, and the spider goddess, representing the shadows under the trees, and the guardians of the insect colonies hunting above the trees. The strength is at the Divine King stage pinnacle. He then complained, How could it be so weak? Even the current elf main god has reached the celestial stage pinnacle. The gap is too big. The system then jumped out to explain that gods can be divided into 2 types, natural gods and belief gods. Those born under the will of the Heavenly Dao are natural gods, who usually possess powerful abilities. Belief gods, on the other hand, need to draw strength from the faith condensed by all living beings. If there is too little belief, the power of the gods will weaken or even disappear. The main god of the Dark Elves is a god called Vast Sky, the god of faith. Now, thinking about it, it does seem that the current situation of the Dark Elves is indeed not optimistic. At this moment, Rian said with his charming voice, My dear great god, you are not dead. It's really great. In an instant, a scythe flew past Lilith. Rian showed a pleased expression and continued, In that case, I can personally kill you, my lord god. However, Lilith's next words instantly made the atmosphere awkward. What does this mean? I am here to help you, Dark Elves. After saying that, it was as if time had stopped for Rianth. She thought that the recent work pressure had caused her to have auditory hallucinations. However, looking at Liludya's resolute eyes, it seemed like the other party was not joking. She politely replied, "How annoying. You must have just reshaped your body, right? Your memories haven't fully recovered yet, have they?" She reached out her hand and pointed at Liludya, looking resentful. She frowned and said, "Back when Dark Elf was under your rule, they had already suffered injustice. Now things have escalated further. The only thing left to do is to kill you and take away your divinity in order to save Dark Elf. So please, you and your accomplice, both go die for me." As soon as the words were spoken, Dark Elf immediately launched an attack on Vast Sky. Vast Sky also looked helpless at this point, wondering why the matters of your elven race have implicated him. Immediately, he staged another classic snapping of his fingers. A crisp sound rang out. At this moment, the world fell silent and time stopped. Liludya furrowed his brows, speaking with inner turmoil. "I can't do it. Both Dark Elf and Golden Elf are my children. I don't want either side to disappear." Rianth roared in anger. "Then why are you wasting your breath here? Go support your Golden Elf then." Vast Sky on the side noticed the tense atmosphere and stepped forward saying, "Excuse me for the interruption. I want to know that Dark Elf has been talking about rebellion all along. What do you want to achieve after succeeding? Can this be understood as your hatred is not towards the cruel rule of the Golden Elf, but towards the capability to rule cruelly, not from your Dark Elf?" Rianth immediately vetoed. She explained, "We Dark Elves are not selfish like those Golden Elves. All we want is to live a peaceful life." Just then, Vast Sky coldly chuckled and continued, "If you feel that you are different from the Golden Elves, then you should not do the same things as they do. It's a matter of morality. If you want to oppress your own kind like they do, it only shows that you want to prey on the weak. This is a matter of strength. Don't talk about the suffering of the Dark Elves like a mountain pressing down, making Rianth breathless." She trembled slightly, clenched her fists, gathered her courage, and said, "Do the terrible things the Golden Elves did to us just get brushed aside like that?" Vast Sky naturally replied, "It is only right to pay the price for doing wrong, but this price is not to be enslaved by the Golden Elves for generations." As soon as the words fell, Rian sighed helplessly and said, "All right. I understand. As long as Dark Elf can live a normal life, it's fine." At this moment, Liludya has also set his goal in mind and slowly said, "I have decided too. I have to go and talk to the current Elf Emperor. If we can't reach an agreement, then we will resort to the use of force. He is my enemy." Vast Sky nodded in satisfaction. He continued, "It seems you have already figured it out. Then let's go together to witness the result." At the same time, Kayak Imperial Palace. A crash of cup smashing sound, an elf stepping on a Dark Elf angrily shouting, "You are a bunch of useless people." I said less sugar. I'm trying to lose weight recently. Do you treat my words as if they are nothing? Elf Princess Tirana turned her head with disgust and looked at the Dark Elf next to her, saying, "This afternoon tea must be prepared by you." Dark Elf girl trembled all over, quickly knelt down and apologized. But unexpectedly, Tirana went straight up and kicked. She kicked and drove her way. This scene was fully captured by Liludya outside. She suppressed her anger and said, "As an elf noble, how could you do such a thing to your own kin?" Vast Sky behind him immediately added, "Is this all you can't stand? There's even worse. Look over there." In a corridor at this moment, two golden elves are being led by iron chains around their necks, pulled towards a room deep inside. The two elves are extremely terrified, unsure of what awaits them in the end. The door slowly opened, and the butler respectfully spoke to the adult in the room. "Your Majesty, the new product has been delivered to you pure and pollution-free. Please feel free to use it." The Elf Emperor replied coldly, dragging his chin. "Well done. It seems like there's something to do today." Liludya already had a silent and expressionless face, wishing to destroy them in the next second. There is no need for the elven race to stay like this. There is no need for negotiations. It is completely unnecessary," she said as she raised her own staff. Elf whispers sweet words to the sleeping world tree. "Oh, please respond to my call." At this moment, the world tree is enveloped in a huge halo of light, emitting intense vibrations like an earthquake. In the slums of the city, dark elves are kneeling down one after another, praying for the forgiveness of the gods. They don't even know what they did wrong. Why are they being treated like this? At this moment, the treant in the forest unexpectedly went out of control and rampaged, directly smashing the golden elf with a violent hammer. Deeper in, a pair of dragon eyes suddenly opened. The dragon's body rose from the ground. It looked towards the direction of the world tree and heard the call of its master. This dragon is named Elven Forest Green Dragon Yura. The dragon's roar echoed throughout the entire forest. All the animals went crazy as well. At the same time, right away, in the celestial realm, the elf divine realm, he opened his eyes. In the massive palace, sitting on the high platform is the main god of the third era elf, Lundel. At this moment, he could hardly believe it, and secretly wondered why the world tree suddenly became angry. Could it be that person who has returned? Then he turned to the people below and asked, "Where is my personal guard at this moment?" 3 figures suddenly appeared in the palace, each with beautiful looks, like flowers and moon. Kneeling on one knee, they respectfully asked, "What are your orders, my lord? We will surely not fail our mission." The elf chief god, Lundel, spoke sternly. Slowly opening his mouth, he said, "Go to the human realm and investigate why the world tree is so angry for me. If you find that the world tree is against you, then destroy it for me." The elves below immediately obeyed the order and set off at once. At the dark elf stronghold at the same time, Rian seemed to have sensed something as she looked at the chaotic sky. She was already prepared and immediately gave orders to Shadal behind her, instructing all hidden dark elves to be ready. The divine war is about to begin. At this moment, the world tree is shrouded in a halo, and the sky above is filled with dark clouds. The battle is about to erupt. A figure broke out of a window in the Elven's imperial palace. He instantly flew in front of vast sky and Lilithith in the Elven's imperial palace and asked coldly without expression, "Who are you exactly? What has caused the world tree to be so angry?" The figure that emerged was the current elf emperor, whose body turned out to be the incarnation of the elf supreme god. Lilithith raised his staff, fully prepared to reply, "You don't need to know who I am. My purpose in coming today is to make the elf nobles pay a heavy price for oppressing their own kind." These words made the elf emperor tremble, as if he were constipated. "So that's what it is," he said, as if he had lost his mind, bursting into laughter. His face became gloomy. He looked at Lilithith with deep hatred and continued, "It seems like you haven't understood one thing. Even with the help of Dark Elf and World Tree, what's the use? You simply cannot overthrow the current rule of the Golden Elf. The main god of the elves now is one of the western main gods of the celestial realm." Lilithith disdainfully turned around and said, "Is that so? I never intended to discuss the elf emperor with you," immediately revealing his true face. His eyes filled with malice as he stared at Lilithith, saying, Hey, can you understand the current situation? You don't really think you can escape now, do you?" He raised his small hand. The archers on the city wall are ready to unleash their arrows. The mage is ready in the forest. Everyone is heading towards Vast Sky and Lilithith, just waiting for the final command. Vast Sky propped up his chin and looked at Lilithith, smiling slightly. "These are all experts above 5th rank. You need to be careful." Lilithith sighed and asked, "How did it come to this? I just wanted the elven race to be harmonious and united." As the mother god, they refused to listen to my orders, making it difficult for Vast Sky. Don't ask me, it's like when you were heaven-defying back then, I was also pondering over this question. At this moment, bursts of sneers came from behind Vast Sky. "Have you chatted enough, or is this your farewell? After you guys descend from the earthly realm, chat as long as you like. When I give the order to kill them below, immediately aim and prepare to shoot Lilithith." turned slowly with a heavy heart. Since it's the war you guys have chosen, don't blame me. Suddenly, a big hand slapped where the bowman was about to shoot, making a loud noise. It turned out to be Trant. Countless Trants surged from the forest, slamming into the city walls. The archers looked at this scene in disbelief, feeling disoriented. Aren't Trants our allies? Hurry and activate the city defense magic array. The physical attacks of the Trants cannot shake this magic array at all. Behind him, the green dragon newmanhwa has already prepared to breathe out its breath, directly spraying it onto the city walls. The sound of wailing comes in waves. The city wall was instantly breached, causing the archers to flee in all directions and disrupting the formation completely. The Green Dragon City defense formation was broken, allowing the Trants to easily launch their attack. In their eyes, the archers resembled ants climbing a building, and with a single grab, they could be sent directly into their mouths, crunching down on the delicious chicken flavor. In this situation, the elf leader leading the army waved his long sword and shouted angrily, "Don't panic! Reorganize the formation! Anyone running around will die! Those in the front, use your lives to withstand the enemy's attacks! Mages in the rear, attack fiercely without worrying about friendly fire!" At this moment, the elf emperor in the sky above looked down at the chaotic scene below. He grimly said, "Even the ancient Trant and the daughter of the dragon god have come. What a bunch of useless beings!" Forget it. The best is yet to come." He then turned to look at Lilith with an evil smile and said, "Although I don't know how you did it, the ultimate victor will still be us. The outcome will be the same in the end." This statement left Lilith feeling puzzled. His expression turned serious as he asked, "What do you mean by that?" The already frenzied elf emperor raised his hand and pointed to the sky as if fearing something. In a state of constant dread, he said, "Look up there." The sky at this moment is already rolling, becoming even more intense. Suddenly, beams of holy light shone down from above. This surprised Lilith greatly. 3 figures appeared as feather after feather fell, heralding the arrival of the human realm angel. Surprisingly, the leader had 8 wings, followed by 2 6-winged angels. At this moment, the expressionless 8-winged one spoke slowly. "I am the elf god's angel divine King Kathleen, here by divine decree to suppress the rebellious and unreasonable rebels." Vast sky below pointed at Kathleen. He counted her wings. 1, 2, 3. Braised, steamed, boiled, barbecue. 4 pairs of chicken wings just right. The current elf chief deity is really generous, actually sending a divine king stage elf angel directly. Seems like they want to destroy the world tree directly. Are they really not thinking about the consequences at all? Lilith stood to the side with a solemn expression, speaking firmly, "I won't let such a thing happen." Vast Sky, with an unchanged expression, looked at the majestic Kathleen in the air and continued, "But if you don't suppress your own strength like this, trouble will surely come when entering the human realm." Who exactly is this peerless man who can even trigger heavenly thunder? Quickly mention him and let him bear this calamity, as lightning strikes directly at Elf, the divine angel Kathleen. She only looked at him coldly. Seizing the opportunity, she swiftly drew her divine sword and traced a perfect curve in the air. She easily blocked the thunder with a wave of her hand. Vast Sky became excited after seeing this. It's really interesting. It seems that the punishment from the strong beings of the celestial realm to the human realm is still not strong enough, he said, and then summoned the system, saying, "I want to modify the rules of heaven's punishment in the human realm. When undergoing heavenly punishment or shattering it, it does not count as completing the tribulation, and a new heavenly punishment will be triggered again. After the time of 1 incense stick, the second heavenly punishment will come, with power higher than the cultivator's level. It will continue until it is eliminated." He sighed and spoke to Lilith beside him. "Just now, I modified the rules of the world. Before the heavenly tribulation at the divine emperor stage arrives, he has the time of 1 incense stick." Lilith stood still, seeming a bit at a loss, and replied weakly, "I thought you would just eliminate her directly." Vast Sky looked up at the sky and said meaningfully, She has come down so rarely. Just consider it as a reward for him to have some fun. The sky was densely covered with dark clouds and thunder was rolling, as if it could strike at any time. This puzzled Kathleen. Grinding her teeth, she worried in her heart. I clearly cut off the thunder tribulation just now. Why has it recondensed now? And with the power of the divine emperor stage? Looks like I must make a quick decision. But just as Kathleen looked towards the direction of vast sky, preparing to launch an attack, the sound of dragon chants came from the city walls behind them, roaring. Kathleen, do you really want to be enemies with the World Tree? I gave Lundell a little attitude. Does he really think he's the main god of the elves just because of that? Kathleen, who always follows orders, coldly replied, I'm sorry, Lord Dra, but this is a command from the main god and must be carried out. Also, please do not insult the main god. Long Yen is angry and scolds, so arrogant. Do you think I can't beat you just because I am currently suppressed in my realm? Kathleen remains expressionless and coldly replies, Even if you are in a state of complete victory, I still have no fear for the sake of our Lord God. This instantly activated Dra, the green dragon's aura, as he explained with boundless anger, Then let me see what you are really made of. From above the clouds, 6 large fruits turned out to be 6 developing mystic realms. Next, leave it to me to deal with it myself. Elf Mother God Liludith reached out and instantly appeared in front of the green dragon Dra. Long time no see. Are you still honoring the covenant between you and me? Looking at the familiar figure, Dra looked a bit bewildered and said, So you really haven't died, Liludith? Liludith replied firmly, I am dead, but I have not completely perished. Looking at the current elven race, even in death, I will not close my eyes. O World Tree, my old friend, lend me your strength. The World Tree seemed to hear the call. It trembled, concentrating its power into the sky. At this moment, 6 fruits appeared, representing the sun, moon, forest, ocean, earth, and darkness. Vast Sky looked at this scene, his face bulging veins, shaking all over, saying, How can these be fruits? They are clearly 6 developing mystic realms. It's hard to imagine how many heaven-defying king stages those who possess 6 mystic realms, like an elf main god, must have gathered. At this time, the system popped up and added that if all 6 mystic realms were fully developed, they would absorb countless resources from the 3 realms. It suggested destroying vast sky. After a brief moment of contemplation, the user calmly said, It has been hidden for so many years. A little more time won't make a difference. Let me take another look. From the 6 fruits, beams of golden light flew out one by one. The golden light converged towards Liludith. The golden light gathered at her chest, and her previous clothes disappeared in an instant. With new skin appearing, empowered by the mystic realm of the World Tree, her momentum rose all the way to the Divine King stage. At this moment, Liludith exuded confidence, brimming with strength as if she had returned to the past. She said to Kathleen in the sky, Come, let me see how strong you really are. Kathleen was stunned by this display and looked slightly flustered as she asked, Who are you exactly? Liludith did not continue to speak nonsense with him. With a lift of her arm, 6 different staves appeared around him, representing the 6 different attributes of the World Tree mystic realm. Each of them is a divine artifact of the celestial stage. She replied, The main god of the elves, this woman is unexpectedly an angel from the celestial realm elf lineage. The first thing she did when she descended was to unleash the strongest strike, divine punishment. At this moment, Kathleen gritted her teeth and raised her divine sword, pointing it at Liludith, retorting, That's nonsense. If you are the elf deity Lord Lundell, then what are you? Frowning, Liludith slowly replied, A traitor. This made Kathleen unable to bear it any longer. She grasped the divine sword with both hands and lifted it towards the sky, forming a massive sword as she shouted, Unreasonable person, die beneath this sword. Divine punishment, blazing sun-like sword directly slashed towards Elf Mother God Liludith. This powerful strike could cover tens of thousands of acres of the forest, and even the World Tree might be split into 2 directly. Is this the battle between gods? Lilith, facing the imminent attack without any fear, calmly uttered, "World Shadow." At this moment, the mystic realm wand representing life and earth shone brightly by Lilith's side. The shadow of life tree appeared, far exceeding its original form, managing to directly block that divine punishment. Kathleen stood in disbelief, shouting in amazement, "What? It was blocked? That's impossible. The human realm cannot possess such power." Lilith floated in the air, saying indifferently, "The power hidden within the human realm exceeds your imagination." She then turned to Yra behind her and said, "Go help the Dark Elves capture the Elf Emperor. Don't let him escape." The green dragon Yra seemed to see the familiar her from the past. "She's really back," Yra immediately promised. "Understood, my friend." Later, Yra let out a long howl towards the sky. The Traiant at the city wall seemed to have received the command. They launched a fierce attack and charged towards the Imperial Palace. The defending elf guards at the city gate seemed like ants, unable to resist, and kept retreating. At this moment, a voice of confusion was heard. "Wait, Lord Yra, commander of the 1st Elf Legion, Blazing Sunday." Mithal asked Yra, "Why are you betraying the elven race?" Yra raised her dragon head and coldly replied, "I have never been loyal to the Elf Emperor. Those who block me shall die. The trumpet of justice has sounded, and the divine war has begun." Under the leadership of Elf Mother God Lilith, Traiant and Dark Elf launched a fierce attack. At this moment, at the city wall, this response left Mithal puzzled. He was surrounded by golden light and said, "Then I have no choice but to be impolite to you." But just then, a familiar voice appeared behind him, saying, "You should still care about yourself." The one who came forward was Shadal. He swung his dagger towards Mithal. But he didn't cause any harm. Shadal disdainfully said, "TSK, the golden elf armor is of good quality." Mithal angrily exclaimed, "Shadal, are you with these rebels?" With the dagger raised in front of his chest, Shadal, ready for the next attack, replied coldly, "I am a rebel myself." Watching the chaotic scene around him, Mithal's forehead slowly began to bead with cold sweat. Above the battlefield, the 2nd Legion Star Moon Legion Commander Shandy's casts a flying spell, floating in the air, to analyze the battle situation. The Green Dragon and Traiant have all defected, and the 1st Legion Blazing Sun is now also being held back. The 3rd Legion Tree Shepherds has been thrown into chaos by the Traiants within their own legion, while the 4th Legion Storm Rain and the 5th Legion Harvest Crown stationed outside of Kayak City have both come under attack by the beasts. What should we do now? The elven race is really in trouble this time. On the ground, Rianth raised his weapon high, leading the army and shouting, "The war to overthrow the Elf Emperor has officially begun." On the other side of the battlefield, in the sky, the Elf Emperor watched all these scenes unfold. He scowled and gritted his teeth as he looked down below, disdainfully muttering, "Truly a group of inferior races." Yra in the distance took advantage of his distraction and breathed out a blast of dragon's fire. But it was blocked by the nearby 6-winged elf angel sacrificing itself. The dragon's fire did not cause any harm at all. Yra flew into the air and said resentfully, "Elf Emperor, your army can no longer protect you. Today is the day you die." But the Elf Emperor coldly snorted and replied, "Have you truly seen the current situation? It's 3 against 1 now. You have no chance of winning." Just after saying that, the 6-winged angel behind him was directly struck by a powerful force, and the divine sword in his hand was instantly knocked away. Just like an irresistible force, she was kicked directly into the air and plummeted fiercely toward the ground. It turned out to be Azure Sky's kick, honed over thousands of years with extremely precise form. Fortunately, she's not in the World Cup, otherwise, teams like Brazil, France, and Italy would be in big trouble. The Elf Emperor, glaring angrily, suddenly turned his head to look. Azure Sky stood directly above him, tauntingly remarking that it was now a 2v2 situation. With a fierce roar, Elf Angel Kathleen mustered all her strength, wielding her sword and fiercely striking towards Elf Mother God Lilith. No matter how she attacked, she couldn't break through the magical barrier released by Lilith. Even the barrier kept replenishing endlessly. Kathleen couldn't help but complain as she wildly attacked. "How many magic restraints does this guy have left?" Lilith remained calm and composed, casually raising a hand in response. "I haven't calculated, but even if a strong opponent from the celestial stage approaches, they won't be able to kill me easily within 3 moves. Give up." Shimmering with golden light all over his body, the branches of the world tree entwined around Lilith as he gathered magical formations, and then he said to Kathleen, "You cannot defeat me before the heavenly punishment reassembles." As soon as the words fell, the branches of the world tree shot out from the formation around Lilith. Kathleen wielded her sword in a backhand motion, swiftly cutting off the incoming attack. She looked distressed and said, "Why? Why? Why?" She continued to strike at the seemingly unbreakable magical barrier in front of her, while loudly questioning Lilith. "Why do you, a member of the elven race, choose to be enemies with your own kind? Why disrupt the hard-earned peace that we have? Do you realize how much effort our divine Lord has put in for the current prosperity?" Upon hearing this, Lilith took a deep breath and said, "I know that peace has never come easily. However, this so-called peace and prosperity gained by stepping on others is not what the entire elven race desires." At this moment, Lilith pointed at the starry sky behind the firmament, illuminating with radiance. A shooting star emerged from the magic array above the clouds, and the Heavenly Dao said, "You are right. We cannot judge right from wrong solely based on strength and morality. Ultimately, this world still respects the strong, where the law of the jungle prevails." Kathleen looked at the falling meteor, and then realized that its descent was directly towards the royal city of Kayak. At this moment, she didn't have time to think about anything else. She immediately transformed into a golden light and rushed towards the direction of the meteor, anxiously shouting that the meteor cannot harm the Elf Emperor. A huge meteor fell from the sky above. A figure turned into golden light and blocked it head-on. What reason made her so reckless? This woman is Angel Kathleen of the elf race, assigned to the mortal realm by the current elf chief god to punish the unjust. But she did not know what she was facing. With the intense collision, the falling stars burst violently, and Kathleen opened her time wings to sweep away as many meteor fragments as possible. After exerting all her strength, she found herself falling vertically without any support. She plummeted to the ground with a loud crash. In the crater, Kathleen's eyes went white, her body covered in wounds and tattered. Her wings of light disappeared. At this moment, Lilith approached slowly and said, "At least you are still a gentle child, but such gentleness cannot change the elven race." Now I understand the feelings of the Heavenly Dao even more. Kathleen struggled to sit up. She smiled awkwardly. She said, "The elven race doesn't need to change anything anymore." After saying that, she mustered the last bit of her strength. She suddenly rushed forward and hugged Lilith tightly. Not being able to help himself, Lilith couldn't resist asking what she was doing, as such behavior could not harm him. Kathleen had a gloomy expression because she knew that the time for a stick of incense was about to come. Above the sky, the heavenly punishment is ready to strike at any moment. She embraced the mindset of going down together and said, "This is enough. Even if I can't defeat you, at least this heavenly tribulation can cause you some harm." The already faded hopes of Kathleen's desperate shout, "Let's go down together!" The thunderclouds can no longer hold back, emitting a deafening sound. The thick thunderbolt surged out and struck the ground. It was at this moment that Lilith arrived. He snapped his fingers again in his classic move, then said, "Boom." The thunder tribulation doesn't seem ready to strike down yet. Let's disperse for now. Just such a casual sentence, originally capable of making even the divine emperor stage wary, instantly dissipated a bit of the heavenly punishment. On the side, Vast Sky leisurely walked out and continued to say, "If someone maliciously utilizes the power of heavenly punishment to harm others, then it would be a case of confusing priorities." This time you picked up a life. It seems that the rules need to be modified again. He only needs to snap his fingers. He can instantly disperse the heavenly punishment that even intimidates the divine emperor stage. Because he is the master of this world, he can freely manipulate the rules of the world. At this moment, he is standing in the center of the battlefield. The modified rule is as follows. From now on, heavenly punishment will only harm the one triggering it, with no effect on any other beings. Similarly, others will not be able to help or interfere with the person triggering the heavenly punishment. A system notification sounded. Rules understood. Modification complete. Later, Vast Sky waved his hand and said, "All right, you guys keep fighting. You don't need to worry about me." Elf, the holy angel Kathleen, was stunned and couldn't help but ask, "Who are you exactly?" In her heart, she was surprised that he could easily break through the thunder tribulation. Just how strong is this person's power? At this moment, Liludith raised her head and looked up at the sky. On the other side, in the chaotic battlefield, everyone stopped their weapons and looked in one direction. A figure covered in scars, with all vitality extinguished, descended from the sky, accompanied by a resounding dragon's roar. The declaration spread throughout the entire kingdom: Kayak Elf Emperor is dead. Almost at that instant, the situation on the battlefield below changed dramatically. The troops' morale is in chaos, having lost their leader. One by one, they threw down their weapons and fled in panic. At that moment, Liludith looked serious and said to Kathleen, "The Elf Emperor has already been vanquished. Do you still want to resist stubbornly?"